Dear Diary, today I want to talk about something that's probably going to piss some people off, but I'm okay with that, because truth without discomfort isn't truth. It's just decoration. We keep saying we want to break barriers. We keep saying we want to feel seen, but sometimes I wonder if what we're really after is escape. Escape from discipline, escape from growth, escape from truth. We've weaponized the word inclusive, and at first it was beautiful. It was overdue. The world finally started celebrating bodies that had been pushed to the margins. Different races, sizes, scars, ages, people who had been invisible for decades were finally being asked to step into the spotlight. It was reclamation. It was power. But now, it's starting to mutate. Now it's being used as a shield from accountability, a shield from health, a shield from change. We've begun calling anything that makes us feel challenged toxic or oppressive. We've confused being comfortable with being empowered. Let's be real. America has an obesity epidemic, and it's killing people, slowly, quietly, socially, physically, but we've reached a point where the modeling industry is being told that if it doesn't glorify obesity, it's being discriminatory. That if it does promote health and fitness, it's fat phobic. That the very standards that once inspired people to rise are now seen as acts of violence. But standards aren't the enemy. Shame is. There's a difference between celebrating the diversity of bodies and glorifying dysfunction. There's a difference between loving yourself and lying to yourself. And no, I'm not saying that all bigger bodies are unhealthy. But when obesity becomes an aesthetic rather than a medical concern, we're no longer being inclusive, we're being complicit. Because how can we claim to care about liberation when we're romanticizing the very habits that are enslaving us? I've seen the way this narrative gets spun. They say, let people live. They say, health looks different on everyone. But these same arguments are now being used to drown out the deeper issue, that we are normalizing lifestyles that are actively destroying people from the inside out, that we are handing people sugar-coated grenades and calling it body positivity. And I get it, shame doesn't work, but neither does denial. The truth is, being a model used to mean you were modeling something, not just beauty, but discipline, dedication, vision. You were an embodiment of a standard, a walking visual of what it meant to strive. Now, in our quest to dismantle every barrier, we've dismantled aspiration itself. Modeling isn't just about showing clothes, it's about showcasing possibility. And if we strip it of all challenge, of all aspiration, of all elevation, what are we really left with? The pendulum has swung too far, and if we're not careful, we're going to end up celebrating illness as identity. We're going to raise a generation who thinks that being offended is the same thing as being right. We're going to teach people that any reminder to take better care of themselves is a personal attack instead of a loving push. I don't say this from a place of judgment. I say this as someone who knows what it's like to struggle with the pressure of image. I say this as someone who has lived in the very world I'm criticizing. But it's because I've been inside the machine that I'm brave enough to speak on the way it's malfunctioning. Inclusivity matters. Representation matters. But truth matters more. We can and should make space for all bodies to be treated with dignity, but dignity doesn't require denial, and love doesn't mean enabling. So maybe it's time we stop calling avoidance kindness. Maybe it's time we stop equating relatability with health. Maybe it's time we let modeling be modeling again and stop using it as a mirror for our insecurities. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to wake people up, because comfort won't save us, but truth just might. XOXO, LJ. All right. So let's talk about what happens when inclusivity gets hijacked and how a movement meant to liberate us might actually be keeping us sick. So for us to fully understand this, we're going to have to talk about the rise of inclusivity. We need to acknowledge the fact that the original intention behind the whole body positivity movement was to help bring inclusivity into the modeling industry in a way that was actually very useful, very important, and very necessary to the industry. A long time ago, modeling used to be extremely exclusive to a very Eurocentric beauty standard, and they were obsessed with the size 00 and 0. But then, after time had gone by, we started to notice that that beauty standard was extremely unrealistic, and unrealistic in a way that became unhealthy and damaging to young women and children alike, because of the fact that they were selling a body type that in reality is extremely abnormal and unhealthy to attain for most people. That's not to say that a lot of individuals who are 00 or 0, like myself, are unhealthy. We're very healthy, but not everybody's body is built like that naturally. So trying to force an individual into my size when their body's baseline isn't as small as mine is unhealthy. Now they're changing their eating habits. They're changing their lifestyle habits to attain a beauty standard that will never fit their body type. Not because I'm any prettier or any better than them, but because our bodies are naturally different. So in the early days of inclusion, they wanted to bring in more plus size models. They wanted racial diversity, and they wanted disability representation, which I think are all incredibly important things. Those are the things that, we need out there, so that when there are young kids who are looking up and they look in the magazines, they can see themselves and feel, this idea of aspiration. A young Black girl can look in a magazine and see that there is a Black woman on the cover of Vogue. An Asian girl can do the same thing, Hispanic, white, but it doesn't matter. We were bringing in inclusivity. When it comes to the plus size modeling, we started bringing in models who were a little bit larger with bigger figures. And again, these individuals were still extremely healthy, beautiful women who are in no way overweight and obese. Because I swear, guys, I think that we downplay the word obesity because it's ugly in our head, when in reality, that's just the term. I don't think individuals truly understand what obesity means. Obesity is when somebody is just so overweight that it actually becomes a detriment on their own personal health. That is what obesity is. So when you are overweight, you're obese. So that's why I always tell people obesity is a big issue here, much bigger than people think, because if you are above average weight for your age, height, and weight class, then you're obese. And there's a lot of people who fall under that. And the danger with that is that we start to get so numbed out to what obesity looks like that we normalize that body type. And when we normalize a body type such as obesity, it's almost as if we are literally saying that it's okay to be unhealthy. So now you have young girls who are overweight in school. And I'm not saying it's okay for them to get picked on. Nobody should get picked on for their size. That's absurd. You can still be drop dead gorgeous and still be overweight. It's not about beauty. It's about health. There's a difference to me. And so you have this little girl here getting bullied because she's obese. Now she looks at the billboard. She sees there's an obese model. She sees no reason to change. She sees no reason to lose weight. She sees no reason why her life is unhealthy, or why her body type is unhealthy, or why these people are making fun of her even though that it's wrong. She sees no reason to change. So now we are raising children who believe that obesity is okay, who are believing that obesity is the new beauty standard, and that if they want to be a model and they want to be beautiful, they don't need to put any work into their physical health in order to do so. And that's incredibly dangerous. I understand we want to feel confident about ourselves, but we need to understand that to enforce confidence, we have to enforce the understanding that confidence comes with self-love, self-care, self-understanding, self-growth, self-reflection. Confidence is something that happens at the self first before anywhere else. Being in denial and forcing other people to accept your own mistakes as normal in order to feel happy is not confidence. It's not confidence at all. It's complicit. It's complicit. We're being complacent in a thing that is really drastically harming so many people across our country. Obesity in America is extremely bad. And I look at Miami Swim Week, I look at swim weeks all over the place, and I'm seeing these obese models walking down the runway. And this isn't to say that they're not beautiful, but I think it's wrong. I personally think it is absolutely wrong for us to have somebody who's unhealthy be modeling as if they're somebody that we should try to look up to. No offense, but you can't even take care of yourself. Why in the world would I want a little girl to look up to you and say that you are the idea of beauty when you don't even go to the gym? You don't even take care of yourself. If you have like a special condition that causes you to be overweight, that is one thing. But again, there's a reasoning for that. There's something going on. But if you are so overweight that it is negatively impacting your life, we should not be putting you up to be viewed by millions of people and then call that our new beauty standard. That's not beauty. That's pain hidden in plain sight. That's misery. That's all of us sitting around and clapping as we celebrate somebody else's downfall. I'm sorry, but no. True love is saying, hey man, maybe you should put down that plate for a second and think about your own heart. Think about how this amounts of sugar and calories is going to negatively impact your blood pressure. Think about how you have a beautiful long life to live and how the way that you're eating, the choices that you're making are harming your physical health and making your life at risk. And you're telling me that I'm wrong and offensive for caring more about that model's health than I am about including them in a superficial, shallow world that tries to say that if you're not a model, you're not beautiful? That's stupid. It's crazy. I'm not saying that somebody who's obese isn't beautiful. I'm saying we shouldn't be glorifying them because it causes harm to young children, to young women, to young men, to young people who look at those individuals and idolize them. And so that's why I'm always saying, inclusion started as a revolution, but over time it's been starting to look more like a retreat. So that's what leads us into this portion of where inclusion becomes an escape from accountability. I feel like it's extremely important we make the distinction between obesity versus body diversity, because there's a big difference between a health condition from aesthetic variation. Because so many people are like, all bodies are healthy, but there's so many nuances to that. There's so many nuances and variations to each person's body, and we can't just go generalizing things and in order to appease other individuals' discomfort. If you're insecure about your body, I hate to tell you this, but join a gym and change your eating habits. This isn't something that you're not capable of doing. It's something you don't want to do because it's hard work. But imagine how disrespectful that is to the women and men who were truly obese and lost hundreds of pounds due to their dedication to themselves, working out in the gym when they don't want to, cutting down their calories when they were starving. They were doing the hard work that it took to lose the weight, to gain that healthy life, and to become the person they always truly were on the inside. It's disrespectful to those individuals because what was it all for at the end of the day? What would have kept them empowered? What would have been their purpose if there was no person out there saying, hey, I lost all this weight, now I look great and you can too? But if we start glorifying and normalizing this ideology that it's perfectly okay to just be however you want to be and you can still be a model, you could still be glorified for your appearance, it's a danger. I think people are extremely out of touch with how these types of influence and this type of consumer behavior and consumer culture can truly ingrain itself into the mentality of the young children today. I know it. I see it firsthand. There's little girls who look up at these anorexic influencers thinking that they're natural and are like, yeah, I skipped a meal today because I wanted to look like my favorite influencer. But guess what they're saying when their favorite influencer is overweight? Now they're looking at somebody like Lizzo and they're saying, yeah, but you see Lizzo, she's modeling, she's a celebrity. I'm just going to keep eating. I'm going to eat what I want. I'm going to do what I want. And guess what? Lizzo incorporates that into her branding. That's not healthy. That's not good. That's not being a good influencer. Just because you're telling people to feel good about themselves doesn't make giving them bad advice any less of a bad idea. Like, I know that we want to encourage each other to feel good about ourselves, but helping people through their discomfort by literally giving them everything they want to hear in order to feel good isn't actually influence at all. It's like being a bystander to somebody else's downfall. I mean, am I the only person who's seeing that? Like, Open your eyes, guys. That's why this is called The Awakening. I'm trying to wake you up because this is media manipulation at its core. This is how companies profit, because they profit off of the feel-good marketing. But it's at the cost of the truth, okay? Let's be real. These big corporations, they don't want to bring body positivity. Half of them probably didn't even want to bring new races or disabilities into the mix. They only did it because of profitability. They did it because they knew it would sell. They did it because they knew it's what people wanted to hear in order for their products to sell. Does it make it right all the time? No. But is it what they do? Yes. So when you have something like this, when it comes to us looking at these models on something like Miami Swim Week or any real fashion week, and they're just obese, it's like, what are we doing, guys? What are we really doing? Are we seriously going to sit here and glorify obesity as if that is what we should be aspiring to look like? No. I'm not saying that if you're obese, you're ugly. That's not what I'm saying. If you hear that, if you think that this is an attack, it's proof that you're the problem in your own life, because I'm trying to wake people up. If you feel personally offended by me saying, hey, you're too big to be a model, then I think what needs to happen is you need to start looking at yourself in the mirror and think, well, wait, why do I consider myself too big? Because I'm not talking directly to anyone. I'm talking about a generalized issue. But sometimes when people have these insecurities, they feel personally attacked by the words that I say without realizing that I'm just a mirror. I'm reflecting the aspects of you that you keep hidden, the aspects of you that you don't want to confront, the aspects of you that you don't want to hold accountable. Because guess what? You can be beautiful and still be unhealthy. You can be hot as fuck and still be obese. Obesity is not a good thing. It's bad for you. It's bad for all of us. It's not good for anyone. It's the same thing as anorexia. It's just on the other side of the scale. But it needs to be treated with equal severity because it's serious. I would be absolutely upset if I had a child who was obese, for example, and she was now saying that she didn't want to change her meals. She was upset with me for being such a terrible mother to her because I was changing the fact that she was eating these unhealthy snacks to something healthier. So guess what? She goes to her room. She's typing up all these influencers, celebrities, models who are obese and successful and, chosen to look like the epitome of beauty standards now and the modern day version of beauty. Yeah, they're going to go look at that and say, okay, mom, well, you see, the world is saying that this body type is actually okay. So even though my health is declining and this is going to shorten my lifespan, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm just a child who's going to listen to their favorite influencer instead of you, my mother, who actually knows what's best for me. And that's the danger. You see, that's the danger. It causes the same level of harm as a little girl looking at an anorexic model trying to starve herself for the same thing. It's the same thing, just in different fonts. And so that's why it's important for me to raise this awareness, because I care about the health of others. We have real plus size models in the industry now who are feeling insecure about their bodies because they don't want to be called plus size models. And I'm like, guys, you are plus size models. You're gorgeous, beautiful, bigger women in the industry standard. But because we have gotten so traditioned and ingrained to believe that a plus size model equates to obesity in America, you have real plus size models out there who are beautiful, healthy, flawless head to toe, okay? Just ate it up all the time. And they are ashamed to call themselves plus size models because when you think of a plus size model, you see obesity. Am I the only person who sees the damages and the harm in that? Because please, somebody pinch me. I think I'm dreaming. I'm like, I can't be the only person who sees how bad that is, right? Now you're causing all this internalized insecurity upon individuals who are literally the epitome of what everybody was looking for. I'd rather have a real, genuine, healthy plus size model on there because guess what? A girl who's obese is probably going to resonate with a plus size model more than she would with me because I'm considered a petite model. I'm a 00. A plus size model is usually a 4+ size, and that's still healthy. I'm still healthy. I live a healthy life. I go to my doctor. I do everything, but our body types are different naturally. you know? And so I'm like, yeah, I would rather have that plus size model be known as a plus size model so that a woman who may be obese can look at that plus size model and say, oh, wow, that model is actually the closest weight class to me. Maybe if I lose weight and I get to that plus size model's weight size or that plus size model's weight class, I can be a model too. And now guess what? Their goal, their journey of health and lifestyle and trying to become a model is now based off a scale that's healthy, because what they're trying to achieve isn't unrealistic. They're no longer looking at me, a 00 model, and saying, oh, I need to go from this X amount of size down to a 00, which is unrealistic for their baseline body type. Now they can go and look at a real plus size model and say, oh, wow, okay, well, that's actually a really healthy, attainable size for my body type. And so now I can lose weight. I can go through the lifestyle changes. I could do all the things I need to do. And that is what a true plus size model looks like. I spend time with them. They're gorgeous. And I see it in their eyes. I see it in their faces. I feel it in their words and their energy when they say it. It's almost as if they feel ashamed to call themselves plus size models because they're worried that by saying that they're plus size models, it equates to them being fat. Okay. And I'm like, I know we want to avoid the word fat because we don't want to offend people, but I'm really not trying to offend people. I'm trying to love you guys hard. And sometimes loving people hard is giving them the truth they don't want to hear and having some people hate you because I just want to be real. This country benefits off of our downfall. If you don't know that already, you're living under a rock. And I like to say that I live under a rock, but if you don't know that, you really live under a rock, whether that's in our healthcare system, our food, our anything, really, our mental health stuff, everything. They just benefit off of our downfall. That's exactly why I'm always trying to tell people, you have to remember that we're not actually empowering people. We're trying to sedate them by fueling them the things they want to hear so that there aren't any controversial backlashes that could negatively impact the profitability of these corporations, because they don't care about you. They don't care about you truly. They care about your money. And if you're not ready to face the fact that you are living an unhealthy lifestyle, you're not going to the gym, you're eating unhealthy, and let's be real, you're just fat and overweight and unhappy. Even if you're gorgeous, if you feel you're ugly, then in your reality, you're ugly, right? So the rest of the world could look at you as gorgeous, but you're going to look at yourself as ugly and fat. And because of the fact that you see yourself that way, you now look at the rest of the world through that lens of I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm bad because I'm overweight. And instead of changing that, instead of being like, okay, well, why don't I just start going to the gym? Why don't I change my eating habits? Why don't I make friends with people who have healthier lifestyles? You know, instead of doing that, you're going to hate on anyone or anything or any company that pretty much holds you accountable to the fact that you're not taking control over your own life, and instead would rather blame companies and corporations for not being inclusive enough because you can't see your body type as beautiful. And again, no offense, but that's what happens when you don't take care of yourself. And that's why for me, I'm like, what happened to modeling being a symbol of aspiration? You know, what happened to, modeling being a reflection of human potential and not just comfort? Because I felt like modeling used to be the standard bearer, showcasing discipline, elevation, and vision. I mean, us models, we spend a lot of time, a lot of money taking care of our bodies, our physical health, and our own well-being in order to go to these runway shows. There's a lot of hidden effort that goes into being a model. It's not like you just wake up beautiful all the time. No, absolutely not. There's so much that goes into it. There's so many lifestyle changes that goes from your diet, right, to how much you work out, to what type of workouts you do, because you have to pay attention to your body type. You have to be very mindful about the seasons, there's a whole lot of things that go into it. So what happens when we remove the aspiration from the industry? What happens? If there's no reason for individuals to be healthy, there's no reason for individuals to try and look like a healthy individual, then what is modeling at the end of the day? How can you go to a fitness company and put an obese man or an obese woman as the cover model to Nike when Nike is supposed to be a fitness company? I mean, I'm telling you, I don't think that an obese child is going to go look at a Nike running piece of fashion wear and see another obese man and think, oh, wow, I'm going to lose weight so I can be healthy like him. No, he's probably going to go pick up his snacks and say, see, I have no reason to change my habits or my unhealthy eating habits. And guess what? If the little boy is already obese as a little boy and he's following an obese influencer telling him it's okay to be obese, well, by the time he's an adult, he's probably going to be extremely unhealthy, if not dead, which is grim, but it's the truth. And just because I find it important that we use facts, okay, I want to give you guys the shocking obesity statistics for the US and global, okay? Over 42% of US adults are obese. That's nearly 1 in 2 Americans, okay? That's a lot of people. That's almost half of our society. By 2030, nearly 1 in 2 adults worldwide are projected to be overweight or obese. In the US, the annual medical cost of obesity is around $173 billion. That's more than the GDP of most countries, okay? And this actually has huge cognitive and psychological impacts because obesity has been linked to cognitive decline. Even in young adults, the more body fat a person carries, the more gray matter volume they lose over time. So children with obesity are 5 times more likely to be bullied and 57% more likely to develop depression as adults. Obesity increases risk for 13 types of cancer, including breast, liver, colon, and pancreatic cancer. Obesity is now considered a bigger threat to global health than hunger. Okay? Let's keep this in mind. Obesity is now considered a bigger threat to global health than hunger. Obesity can reduce life expectancy up to 8 years, and severely obese individuals may lose up to 14 years. And obesity is now a leading cause of infertility in both men and women. 80% of the processed foods in the US supermarkets contain added sugar, often hidden under over 50 plus names like evaporated cane juice or maltodextrin. And ultra-processed foods make up over 60% of the average American diet, many of which are chemically engineered to be addictive. And a 10-year-old today is likely to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents due to obesity-related diseases. The fat cells don't lie, okay? They just shrink. Once created, they remain in your body forever, ready to store fat again at any time. And so that's why I'm telling you guys these facts, because it's just so important that you guys understand this. They don't talk about obesity all that much. And because now 50%, almost 50% of our community is dealing with obesity or being overweight, of course, they're going to try and satisfy your need for validation. But you need to wake up, because sometimes the validation you are searching for is not the validation you need. I know. It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to change your eating habits. It's hard to do these things. It's hard. I get that it's hard, but it's also hard to not be able to walk properly because you're overweight. It's also probably very hard that if you're not making a whole lot of money and you're spending 98% of your finances on food, you're probably not surviving very well. I also know that not being able to get out of bed for your own doctor's appointments is probably going to kick you back a lot when it comes to your own personal health in other ways, which now means you are neglecting your own personal needs. And when 50% of the community is in denial about their own unhealthy, toxic patterns and behaviors, these corporations are going to satisfy your need to fuel your own personal ego, because they know that if they do that, you'll buy into whatever it is they're selling you. If they say, hey, put down the cupcake fatty, you're probably not going to want to buy that company, right? And I'm sorry, guys. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I don't discriminate. I love everybody. I'm just trying to be absurd right now so you guys can hear the absurdity in the reality that we live in right now, because I feel like this is a big danger. You heard the stats. These are the stats. These are the facts. I'm not capping, guys. It's a straight facts, okay? I'm telling you guys. I'm trying to wake you up so that you can live a happy, healthier, better life. So when we try to blindly help each other out by satisfying our needs for validation, our need to feel good without actually working to feel good, we just hurt each other. Now you have all these people who are overweight hating on skinny people and vice versa. And we don't need that kind of distraction. What we need to be focusing on It is our own world health, our US health. Children today, their lifespans are shortened by 10 years due to obesity. And that's a fact. That's very concerning. So that's why I'm always trying to tell people it's not elitist to hold standards. It's essential for evolution. It's important that we maintain certain standards, especially when it comes to health in the modeling world and the things that we idolize, so that people feel inspired to attain something that's healthy for them, something that's good for them. But if we're being real with ourselves, our government and our system does not thrive off of a society of healthy individuals. So the more that they can fuel your denial, the more they can fuel your insecurities, the stronger this economy will grow. So anything that they can do to make you feel as though your unhealthy patterns and behaviors are actually okay, the better their businesses will grow. And so it's not about being elitist. It's about incorporating and empowering things and aspects of human life that are actually essential for real growth, development, and happy, healthy living. Because if models don't model growth, what are we actually looking up to? And so that's what leads me back to one of my most favorite and most important things is the power of love, because there's a massive difference between love and enablement. For me, I have a big philosophy on how love confronts. It doesn't coddle. We have like this whole culture that's just so addicted to comfort. We redefine trauma in order to lessen our own personal guilt or shame tied to situations. We overcorrect our softness because we're afraid of being too much. I mean, we're constantly searching for validation and comfort because even if the comfort is chaotic, at least it's familiar. And there's so much harm and danger in that because people will think, oh, well, this only happens in one aspect of my life. But no, it doesn't. It's now happening in all aspects of people's lives, in dating and friendship and jobs and career and personal growth and everything without them even noticing it. It becomes so ingrained in their subconscious that now they self-sabotage their lives because they're so busy searching for that comfortable familiarity within the chaos. So now what we have is a bunch of people who get offended by the truth. And then offense becomes the new metric of morality, when in reality, sometimes the truth just hurts, and it's okay to hurt sometimes. Not everything that is good for us is something we want to hear. Not everything that is good for us we like. Sometimes it's the things that we hate that will help us grow the most, because self-love does not equate to self-deception. We can't keep holding on to this ideology of comfort. Like people just, it's one of the biggest things that irritates me so much. People miss out. They literally miss out on so much having to do with life because they're just searching for these comfort zones that they've already been in. They're like, okay, well, I'm too afraid to take that risk. I'm too afraid to take that leap of faith. So instead of risking it for something big, I'm going to play the game small so I don't have to worry about getting hurt again. I get that logic. I get that mindset, but you're holding yourself back. You're hurting yourself. You're making yourself miserable. You're making life harder for yourself. And it's honestly just a waste of your own personal time, because there will be a moment when you look back at everything that you've done and you will have so much regret. Maybe not everything, but you'll regret many things in your life. And you'll regret those things because you won't be happy with who you are right now. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, I've made mistakes before. Yeah, I've done things that I don't like that I did. But I love who I am right now, and that's why I have no regrets. Because at the end of the day, having no regrets isn't about not being ashamed for the things that you've done. It's not about not taking accountability. It's about having the acceptance within yourself to know that with all the mistakes that you've ever made and with all the negative experiences, they don't define who you are and they don't dictate your future, but they are a part of who you are, and they're part of why you are the way that you are. And I love myself, so I love everything that's ever happened to me. I love all the offensive things, all the bad, all the good, all the drama, all the things. But most people, they can't sit with that truth. They can't sit with themselves. They're uncomfortable in silence because they can't handle their own discomfort. They're worried if they turn off the TV, if they turn off the music, and they sit alone too long with their thoughts, they'll hear things that they don't want to hear. And guess what? Those are the things that you need to hear most. If you're afraid of sitting alone in a dark room with your thoughts, it's a sign that you need to do it more often, because it's in those moments that we truly figure out who we are. It's in those moments that we learn how to grow and become happier, healthier, better people for ourselves. And when we become better, healthier, happier people for ourselves, we make the world a better place in comparison, because we project our internal turmoil. And so many people, they try to have this performative happiness, this performative love, like, oh my God, I love this person so much. But their version of love is just trying to attain validation through comfort. You're hoping that if you comfort a person enough, they'll change. You're hoping that if you comfort a person enough, they'll love you back the same. You're just hoping and hoping and hoping blindly that if you just go into life making things feel comfortable, feel good, then everything should be fine. But that dissonance, that disconnect between your reality and how you feel is so large that that's why you live in misery, because you feel that there is a disconnect. Regardless of if you can name it or not, you can feel the dissonance between how you feel and the reality that you are living. That's why so many people settle. They're okay. They feel happier with people who don't challenge them, because they'll never be able to fully fall in love with them. And if you can't fully fall in love with somebody and you can't fully give yourself and be vulnerable with them, you'll never have to truly risk heartbreak, because even if that person leaves or things don't work out, you didn't truly love them all that much. So losing them won't be that hard. But when you're faced with someone who challenges everything that you thought you knew about love, about the world, about everything, that usually is the one. That's actually the number one sign that you found a healthy partnership. But now people are so used to chasing familiarity and comfort that they've misinterpreted love as something dangerous and bad, something you run away from before it runs away from you because you're undeserving. And this is the reality we live in all aspects of our lives, not just in dating, not just in this, but also even in the capitalistic society that we currently live in. They isolate you, then show you what your insecurities are, and then profit off of it by providing you all the products you need in order to either feel comfortable in your insecurities or change the aspects of you don't like. I hate that this is the reality. I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but it's just to say that this is what is going on right now. And I believe that love is a revolutionary force. And I truly believe that at the end of the day, love is at the root of just absolutely everything. And so I understand. I really, truly do. I understand that it's hard work. It's hard to stay disciplined. It's hard to work out. It's hard, especially if you grew up in a family that didn't have healthy eating patterns. And I can only imagine if you're used to eating a certain amount of calories a day and then you're told to cut that down by 50%, that's hard work. Nobody's saying that it's not. But at the same time, you should love yourself enough to force yourself to do the things that are unpleasant if it means that it will help you to live a healthier, happier, longer life. Being overweight and being obese, it shortens your lifespan. It takes away your quality of life. It heightens your chances of many different forms of cancer. And it heightens your chances at multiple different cognitive issues and psychological mental illnesses. Our country already has an epidemic of mental illness issues, mental illness crises. And now we have a lot of defunding going on when it comes to mental health. And that's not a good sign either. And so I just want people to wake up. I want them to realize, like, hey, you need to love yourself. And sometimes loving yourself is doing the hard work you don't want to do. It means suffering right now so that you can be happy later. It's like we live in this culture of people who want short-term gratification, because they've missed out on long-term happiness. It's like people are struggling so bad in the now, they're no longer capable of looking at the bigger picture and realizing that their version of suffering now is going to stay forever if they continue to stay the way that they are. But people get so trapped in this loop of believing that the path they're currently on is helping them out of their own little cycle, when usually it's actually just reinforcing it. People going in these loops and loops and loops of misery, of Heartbreak Hotel, of misery down misery lane, and then curious as to why it keeps happening to them. And I'm just like, well, it's because you keep doing the same things, self-sabotaging your own happiness and growth and well-being, and then turning around being confused as to why it happened when you were the one who did it all to begin with, because you were searching for comfort and familiarity instead of love, growth, happiness, abundance, and reality. And the worst thing about insecurities is that it will rewrite your reality in order to make it make sense to you. If you feel as though losing weight is something that you're just absolutely incapable of doing, even though you are, you're going to find every excuse in the book as to why you're incapable of working out, as to why you're incapable of dropping those calories. And no matter what anybody tells you or what anybody says or who helps you, you'll find any excuse to justify your lack of desire for change, because change is hard. And it's just frustrating because I'm like, I want people to be happy. I want people to live these happy, beautiful lives. And I'm like, look, you don't know what you're missing out on because you won't even give yourself the chance to try. People just give up. They give up on themselves, on each other, on relationships, on everything. Everybody just gives up on things without even trying. And it's like, is this really what our version of strength looks like now, is giving up before you even try because you're afraid of what could happen if you do? That's what we consider strength now. We consider strength settling for mediocrity because it's too hard to strive for more. Is that really our version of strength now? Because if anything, to me, that's just a bitch in disguise. Because inclusivity without responsibility is just emotional fast food. So that's why I am calling a new narrative where all bodies are welcome, but not all habits are sacred. Because I think it's important that we learn how to advocate for health and representation simultaneously. And we need to have the courage to hold two truths: that loving your body is okay, but you should also still be holding space to improve. Because making modeling sacred again and reclaiming beauty as aspiration with depth is the best way for us to help improve our desire for a healthier lifestyle across our entire society. It's just dangerous to put individuals in a place where they can influence other people when they are in a position where their influence could be taken negatively. I don't think it's something we take serious enough because, as I said, I know we want people to feel good, but we can make them feel good without having to glorify their unhealthy habits. I don't care what size you are. You could be the fattest person in the world. That does not make you ugly, but that does not make you an influencer either. I don't think that somebody who's wildly unhealthy should be given a platform that's specifically designed for beauty standards. I just don't. I really don't. Face card never declined, but that body is off, girl. Okay? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be real because I want people to be happy. And I know I'm like, somebody's going to be out there. They're like, wow, Lindsay really sucks. I feel like we should cancel her because she like hates people. And that's not what I'm saying. I don't hate fat people. I don't hate anybody. I love everybody. I just want people to wake up to the reality that there's a lot of danger in just providing platforms to people because you feel like it makes you feel better about the fact that you don't want to lose weight. If you feel like your weight is making you ugly, that's a you problem. That's not my problem. I know that sounds insensitive, but it's real. It's not my fucking problem, girl. If you don't like the way you look because of your weight, that's not my problem. I'm not saying you're unworthy of being beautiful because you're overweight. I'm saying you're still beautiful. You're just not worthy of being someone that others should idolize when it comes to physical health. Massive difference. Massive, massive difference. So if your internal world tells you I'm ugly and unworthy because I'm overweight, then maybe you should change your own lifestyle so you feel better for yourself. Don't go looking at big corporations and then blaming them because of the fact that you don't want to lose weight. Again, we can reread the stats again if we want to. They're saying that by 2030, around 50% of Americans will be overweight and obese. And even right now, the modern child is already lost 10 years off their life expectancy than their parents because of obesity. And this is something that's not being talked about. You heard the stats on the food. A lot of our food has all these hidden chemicals, ingredients, and things that incorporate to our health in a bad way. Obesity causes 10 plus different cancers. And guess what? Cancer is a very expensive illness. They benefit a lot. They make a lot of money off of cancer here in America, okay? I'm not going to go too deeply into it because I'm not trying to have somebody attack me for some random reason for outing the system too much. But one thing I will say, they benefit off of illnesses, guys. That's why they're pumping all this unhealthy stuff into our food system. They're pumping all these things because the sicker we are as people, the more they profit off of us. It's just a fact. I don't like that this is the truth, and I'm sure many people don't want to hear it too, but it's just the truth. And the only way we can combat that is if we raise our standards collectively. If we raise our freaking standards, we need to. We just have to. I can't believe that children today have already lost 10 years off their life expectancy due to child obesity. That's absurd. It's absurd. And it's something we don't talk about. Because right now, these companies, they don't want to get backlash for not wanting big people in their shows. So what do? They find obese models. I'm like, guys, we can still be inclusive. Why don't we get some paraplegics? Why don't we go and get some people from all over the world? Like, why don't we do all these things? These individuals are still healthy, though. They are physically able and healthy people. You know? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I would love to know what you guys think about all of this because I'm sure that this is a very controversial topic. I really don't want anybody out there who is overweight to think that I don't believe you are beautiful. I don't think that you're worthy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that glorifying your body type in the public image can become a danger to our public health and safety. And that is my only real concern. That doesn't take away the difficulties, the struggles, the mistreatment that you experience. It doesn't take any of that away. It also doesn't say that you're not beautiful. Face card don't decline, babes, okay? But what I also need you to understand is that you are co-signing your own misery and then projecting that misery onto others in a way that could harm young individuals who are easily influenced by what they see online and what they see on these billboards and magazines, because what they are trying to attain is the lifestyle, right? So if they see a plus size model on a billboard and it's a kid, they don't know that for half of these shoots, these models aren't even getting paid much. All these kids see is, oh my God, a beautiful obese woman like me is on a billboard. She's probably getting so much money and so successful and doesn't have to go to school and doesn't have to work a 9 to 5. I want to be just like her. So I'm just going to stay heavy. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to work on myself. Because why would I need to do anything if this model up here is doing really well and making all this money? They don't know. They don't know the reality. And because we have this superficial, shallow world, now you're going to have all these plus size models who are lying to everybody, saying that they're getting paid for these shows, getting paid for shoots when they're not. Like, let's be real, y'all. You're not getting paid, okay? And again, not trying to be mean, trying to be real, because I don't want people to like go online and then look into things and think things are happening and then miss out on their own personal growth or opportunities because they're listening to false information that's fed to them by individuals who are only trying to fuel their own personal ego. They want to look cool. They want to be able to go home and say, hey, yeah, I'm a model, even though they aren't really a model. It was just some company saying, you know what, we just want to be cool enough to everybody else, so let's go find somebody who's heavy and pretty to pass as a model and put them on a runway. That's what these corporations are doing. It's really, really evil and awful to call it out like that, I would say. It sounds very insensitive. But I'm telling you, this is what they're thinking. This is what they're saying. This is what they are doing. And there's so much danger in it. Just so much danger in it. I really encourage you guys to go listen back to the health facts I told you about earlier, because this is very serious. This is not about, at the end of the day, this is not about making you feel good. I'm not here for you to like me. I'm not here for you to listen to my words and feel good. I'm here to wake you up so that you can live a happy, real life where you can actually become the writer of your own book, the writer of your own journey, and take away the shackles that you've placed on yourself. Because once you have these self-limiting beliefs that are now fueled and validated by false information you see online from individuals who are trying to act influential to fuel their own ego, you're putting yourself and many others at harm. That's why I always care so much, You have to remember that you can be enough and still have room to rise. If you're still here, thank you so much. You're not afraid of the truth, and that already sets you apart. I'm so glad that you guys joined me today to talk about this extremely controversial topic. I would love for you guys to let me know what you think. I want you guys to know I love all of you very much. I'm extremely grateful for all of the support that I have gotten on everything that I have been doing. I'm so excited to be beginning this journey, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I'm not saying we should shame people. I'm saying we should stop normalizing what's slowly killing us. We've traded health for comfort, strength for acceptance, and in the name of inclusion, we've started celebrating the very thing we used to fight to overcome. But love, real love, doesn't enable destruction. It tells the truth, even when it's hard to hear. And the truth is, we deserve better than this. Our bodies do, our minds do, and our futures do. We're all just stories in motion. May yours be written in love and not fear. And I'll see you in the next chapter. XOXO. LJ.